And why are charter schools specifically helpful to African American students?
First of all, the level of cultural competency, just the cultural relevancy, the cultural inclusion, the acceptance of meeting a kid where they are, not where you wish they were, but where they are. Understanding their different learning styles, understanding some of their background, some of the baggage they bring when they come, the approach to serving the needs of the whole child, and not just the 6 hours on an academic kind of thing.
What changes do you think need to be happening, or what changes can happen in public schools to help some of these students?
Well, first of all, public schools need to get out of denial that they are failing a significant number of their students. Have been doing so for a long time, but have ignored the fact that they've tried to make one size fit all versus acknowledge and recognize the individual differences of the students. And that goes beyond just race and ethnicity. That's just any kid.